Hard to follow Governor Eddie Bazacabo. Great job, not just in the speech, but of course in the last 4 years. I'm very proud to serve under him, and I think we've done a fantastic job. I want to first thank our campaign supporters who are all here today. Thank you so much for making us strong in this upcoming election on Tuesday. Jesus Mossy, thank you. Now I look over at Jen McDonald. James McDonald's been up at Office of Civil Defense now, serving our administration, looking out for not just the establishment of those all-hazard or sirens that we've been working diligently in the last 4 years to achieve, working with our federal counterparts, working with bureaucrats, but working with everyone, including the Department of Public Works, who stored them for 4 years. We've been doing things to establish the safety standards of public safety, which frankly have been, caught up in a morass of bureaucratic red tape. And the things that we have done in improving everything from the establishment of a fusion center, again, in Office of Civil Defense and the Homeland Security, which allows for all of our federal counterparts, our local counterparts in public safety to work together to deconflict so that if there's any kind of a warrant that's going to be executed, it's not done at the judgment of the federal government investigation or a local investigation. The Fusion Center also helps in getting information about terrorism activity so that we know what's going to be happening before it happens to try to protect our community. You look at the Guam Police Department, we have 42 new police officers who will be fully in place by summer of next year. We've already got an additional 25 now. That's in addition to the Cape Volunteers, the Civilian Volunteer Police Reserve, and we have additional police cars that have been procured in this administration. There are more cops, and you know what, ladies and gentlemen, you can listen to the rhetoric and you can look at the reality. The rhetoric versus the truth. Lies versus reality. We have improved public safety. In the third year of the Gutierrez administration versus the third year of the Cowell administration, apples and apple comparison, we have lower crime. And you can't look at 8 years because we don't have it. But I can tell you one thing, I stand behind the people in public safety, unlike Eric Metallica who said, I just worked in the field. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of guys and girls working on the field. Police officers, Department of Corrections, firefighters. There are people who work on the field, if you were, working 24-hour shifts at the Guam Memorial Hospital. There are people that work on the field that make sure that while you're at home, our lives are safer. We've improved our community, not just in the number of personnel, not just in the equipment, but the policies. In the police department, customs, the fire department, as well as Department of Corrections, as well as the marshals, all the people that categorize as peace officers, we have established finally the administrative rules and the physical standards which will be applicable from here on in. And when passed by the legislature, we will have a new standard, not just for corrections or fire, but all the peace officers. And raising the standards means you raise expectations, you raise efficiencies and professionalism. We're talking about Department of Corrections. Our competition, our opponent, is basically attacking a very good man, Joseph Augustine. He's a director, and he's worked along with many of the people in the corrections institution to try and improve the standards. We're closer now from getting out from underneath the consent decree than we have ever been in the past. We've established everything and we're on the road to finish the others. The last two components are the locking mechanisms and the healthcare standards, which are going into place once we get the privatization in place. We're privatizing because we think it's better to have somebody who understands clinical administration, who understands the side of healthcare and dental care, to be the one who's operating and not just making sure that pharmaceuticals get there, but the gauzes and the treatment. Because the Director of Corrections is not supposed to be responsible, but in fact is responsible for meeting out healthcare. So we need to do it in a way that provides for a doctor to oversee that function rather than a director. And that simply makes sense. And by doing so, we may achieve certain efficiencies. We're on the road to improvement, not just the Department of Corrections, but also the Guam Fire Department. We've got 4 fire engines now in every fire station that hasn't been done for 20 years. We've got more than enough ambulances for every single station across our island in the fire department. Before, we only had 1 or 2. we've improved the standards not just in that regard, but we also have defibrillators. Defibrillators, so in case you have a heart attack and one of your family has a heart attack, we have the ability to be able to sustain their life and improve their condition. And by doing that, not just for the advanced life support services, but the firemen, every single one of them, have a communication system. In the event that the system fails, we have redundancies. That communication system is the lifeline to be able to improve our communications and also delivery of services, whether it be fire, police, or any others. Customs. Look at the customs of quarantine. We've taken tens of millions of dollars worth of drugs off of the street because we work with the Postal Service, with the Immigration Service, with the Port Authority, as well as Customs themselves, to not just get the X-ray equipment down to the port, we've also improved the ability to do detection. And by detection, I mean having dogs at the post office. These things make a difference because those drugs not reaching our street means our kids and our families are in better condition. We have a long way to go in public safety, but we're making huge strides. Governor Cava's done a great job in making sure with the penalty on Guerrero that every person who works in the front line of Customs smiles to every person. Because he said to them, if you can't smile, we'll get someone who can. Because at the end of the day, when you're coming in from whether it be Taiwan or Korea or even Russia or China, you want to see a smiling face, you got to do your job, but smile doing it. Now I want to talk about tourism since we went there. Our tourism numbers are fantastic, but I have to say, Governor Gutierrez had fantastic numbers as well. As a matter of fact, I think on average, he had more tourists per year in the 8 years he was there than we did. And he had a higher hotel occupancy tax. So the revenue that he had was sufficient to sustain the operations, but yet he wasn't able to make it. And, you know, he can blame everything except himself. But at the end of the day, a person who's responsible is a person who takes accountability for the good and the bad. And Governor Gutierrez only takes responsibility for good things. Ladies and gentlemen, Governor Cava is taking responsibility for the downfalls and the improvements. And you know what? You can look at the rhetoric and you can look at the lies that come out in a publication that's delivered to your home. But the last 4 years, you've seen the services delivered to your homes and family. You don't need a lie in a publication on a printed piece of paper to believe you know Eddie Cava is a great governor. So, you know, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know this. This is never, in my experience, not just as a tenant, as a person living on Guam, who came here in the 1970s off of a Pan Am 747. From that time to this, I have never seen an administration more transparent, sharing information, making sure service get to you better than Governor Eddie Cava's administration. Simply put, he is the best governor I have ever seen in our administration, and I want to make sure he gets re-elected again. Please, vote for him. Before I get off the stage, I want to say a couple other things. I'm very, very proud of this administration, not just in the directors, but the staff. You know, I'm looking over at the people working at that table over there, young men and women, most of them educated, most of them aspiring for greater things. Those things are in line with them because they're doing the work. We're improving education, working with John Fernandez, who's been a fantastic ambassador, not just in changing and being a change agent for the Department of Education, but working with us to achieve those dreams. Improving Tijan High School by establishing it, notwithstanding the objections of the legislature and the majority, we've overcome those obstacles. We've built Tijan High. We've renovated Untalon, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Simon Sanchez, George Washington, all the other schools get $100 million of renovation in the next 4 years. If you get an administration like Eddie Cava, we make sure that education is a priority rather than losing federal dollars like Governor Gutierrez did during his administration, because he didn't work with the board, he didn't work with the federal counterparts, he couldn't account for the spending of the money, and ultimately we lost Odea funding. We can't allow that to happen again. Our administration is improving in tourism, we're improving in education, public health. Look at the systems of care that we have right now. The public health care system is improved so dramatically. We're going to be not just take care of the veterans of the public health institutions, we're also establishing an urgent care facility outside the Guam Memorial Hospital. We've already renovated by virtue of the Governor Cava, at the time Senator Cava's bill, to expand the emergency room, and we're going to go on to the ICU, which we've done, now on to the maternity ward and other other facilities. We don't need to build a new hospital for the public. We've already got one. But we support the Guam Regional Medical Center because even with those additional beds, we're still lower per capita than you find on the average in the States. And that means more beds, means more treatment, means less money going out fighting for treatment and staying right here to provide for jobs and improve services and expanded offerings. Ladies and gentlemen, I could speak for another 10 minutes, but I know Jermaine's going to look at me again, so I better get up. But I want to thank you all. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I know some of you, you come from different corners. Some of you come from Democrat background. Some of you come from a Republican background. This election is not about as much about the party as it about the people themselves. It's less about the Democratic Party, it's less about the Republican Party, and it's more about the Guamanian Party. So no matter what your ethnicity is, no matter how you were born or where you were born, no matter what your background is or your parents' background, you are the one who benefits from this vote. If you wake up on Wednesday morning and you find that the people you did not want to get elected got elected, make sure you voted for the people on Tuesday so that result doesn't happen. You're the only difference between the right direction and the wrong direction. Please, I humbly ask